What's up, and welcome to the Very Best Self podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Brown. Tune in each week as I have candid conversations with inspiring humans, including athletes, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and anyone out there making waves. Get ready to leave your comfort zone behind, step into your power, and live a more purpose-driven life. I am so happy that you're here. Now let's do this. What's up, squad? I have such a special interview for you guys today, and I am beyond excited to share with you my dear friend, Taye Landry. So there's so many things that Taye is. She is a business owner. She's an entrepreneur. She's a thought leader. She is an inspiring woman. The list goes on and on and on, and a dear friend. And so we're going to talk about her story. We're going to talk about how she got to where she is today. We're going to talk about what it means to really, really get real about who we are. So we are going to talk about some pretty deep stuff today. And I think that everyone who is listening, no matter where you come from or, what season of your life you're in, you will find a takeaway. You will find something that will inspire you to live your very best life and step into your very best self. So without further ado, we're going to jump all the way into this thing as we do. So Taye Landry, here we go. You guys, my favorite Canadian is in the house today. Taye Landry, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you.
I can't even tell you. I don't even have the words, but I'm so honored to be on your show. I'm so proud of you. To see you walk through this is the coolest thing ever. So let's freaking go.
Yes, let's freaking go. So we go way back, Taye and I. We go way back. We met back when I was living in Los Angeles. And then you started taking my spin class and we became friends. And sometimes people walk into your life and you never expect that they will continue to be your friend through many, many seasons of your life. And it's so crazy because, you were living in LA at the time. I was living in LA, and you've since moved back to Canada, and I moved to DC and then New York City and all the places and all the things. And somehow through all of that, we've remained friends, kept this friendship going. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
It's so special. I'm so thankful that the universe brought us together and that we're on a similar journey of figuring it all out and together. So I'm honored.
We are. And the reason I feel like we've been able to keep this going for so long is, you inspire me in so many ways. And I am just so honored to have you on the show today because I think so many of my listeners are going to just be wowed by your message and the way that you show up in the world and the way that you show up for other people, the way that you put other people first all of the time and everything that you do. And you just have this this aura of empowerment about you. And you share that with everyone you come in contact with. And it bleeds through the screen, through your Instagram. And I'm pumped to have you. So where do we even start? Where do we even begin? It feels like to me, you fell in love with cycling in Los Angeles. And I certainly wasn't the only instructor you were taking, right? And from my outsider, vision of it all is like you fell in love with cycling and then you went back to Nova Scotia and you were into Halifax and you were just like, this doesn't exist here. I want to create it. Is that true? Is that how it went?
That is exactly it. So I was in LA. I was working in fashion, trying to pave my way there, make a name for myself. And I had everything and nothing at the same time. I found myself in a spin class and one of yours, honestly, I felt this whole feeling go through my body being like more people need this in their life. Like this is missing. This is a missing element in people's lives. Nothing like this existed here. And so after, a couple years, I said to myself, my grandfather was getting older and I wanted to be able to spend more time here. My plan was to actually live part-time here and part-time in LA. And I opened the studio with the mission at hand being like, I need to bring this to my hometown. My hometown needs this energy, this fire, and there's so much power in movement and creating space for new opportunity. And so 6 months after I opened, SpinCo Halifax became the #1 spin studio in Canada, and it just like really took off. And so I actually found myself living here full time because it didn't allow for me not to be here full time. So that was very accurate how you said it. And I couldn't be more thankful for the journey. I think that chapters have endings. So I think that that's coming near. And yeah, I think that I'm on a whole nother level of trying to bring, that same energy and that same message, but maybe through a different vessel.
I love that. I love that. So many of us, we don't all the time have that same mindset to say like, this doesn't exist. I want to create it. And that's the true mark of an entrepreneur. That's a true mark of saying like, I'm going to take this leap of faith. And, it feels like to me, you're so into your self-development journey and sharing that with others and helping others with their own self-development journey. And so where did that come from? Where do you think you first became, a self-help guru, someone who was like just so into self-help?
So this is a story is probably...
We love a story.
We love a story. 8.5 years ago, I believe it was 8.5, maybe it was 7. I don't know. I'm terrible at math. Time is not a thing for me. So I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, I was in a very toxic relationship. I fled the country and I moved to Miami, and I texted my dad, and I had never read a self-help book in my life. I texted him, and I knew he was really into motivational speaking. So I texted him and I just said, who's your favorite motivational speaker? And he wrote Anthony Robbins. And I was like, who's Anthony Robbins? And so I went to the nearest Barnes & Noble. I went to the self-help section because when I searched in Anthony Robbins, that's where he was. So I was like, okay, never been in that section before. I actually didn't even like reading. Hilarious. There's not a day that goes by in my life now that I'm not in a book. So that was very foreign to me now if I'm looking back. But anyway, so I went to the self-help. And actually, Gabby Bernstein's books just screamed my name. It's like I couldn't take my eyes off of them. So I literally bought all of her books that were available. I bought Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power, or the Power, is it the Unlimited Power? Yeah, I think so. And I actually didn't end up reading it, but I bought it. And then when I got home, I was like, who is this guy? Like, what's his deal? Searched his name. And
Tony or Anthony?
Anthony, because I didn't know Tony. So
Hilarious.
It showed that the next week he was doing Date with Destiny in Boca Raton, which was like so close to Miami, right? So I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? And I texted my dad and I said, what's Date with Destiny? Like, it's happening here, in a couple of days, basically. He goes, I'm sending you. I'm like, Dad, this is crazy. Like, what is this? So I go. Literally, it's like the stars were aligned. One thing after another led to another. And I go, and people were jumping around and they loved life so much. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. These people are like, this is a cult. I don't know if I can do this. These people are crazy. They love life more than I bet this is like weird. Like it's just not normal. So by the end of it, I was the one jumping around. And I'm like, is this what life is all about? Like, I have the choice to be enthusiastic about my life. I have the choice to choose joy. I have the choice to like go all in with things. That's a choice. Oh, I'm going to make that choice every single time because that feels good. And I should lean into things that feel good. And so after that, I've never been the same. I've never looked back. I used to be the girl that would sit in the corner and not say anything, believe it or not. I used to be the girl that didn't hang out with friends. I used to be the girl that hated going out for dinner. I used to be the girl that didn't have any joy, no spark in her eyes, nothing. And then I realized that that's a choice. And whether or not I take it is completely up to me. And so that was one of the biggest, that was a pivotal moment for my life, is that I realized that to choose joy is the ultimate. And I think sometimes, and I'm realizing more on my journey, is that it's not about a destination of like, when I get this, I will be happy. It's when I choose to be happy. And when I choose joy in this moment, That's the greatness of life. Like that's the juice of life. So that's where my journey started. And I can honestly say I am not like there's none of the same DNA running through my body that was back then. So I'm a completely changed person. I continue to seek more, and I've been really into energy and manifesting lately. And I just feel that what you're seeking starts to seek you. And that's been really powerful lately. Yeah. So that's kind of where my journey started. And it's been miraculous. It blows my mind, honestly. Most days I'm like, I chose this life for myself. And every single person out there has the ability to choose this. You know?
That's powerful.
It's crazy. Powerful. It's life in choice. Whether or not I let this pandemic defeat me and take me out of the game, or whether I let this pandemic fire the hell up inside of me and be like, no. This is choice. And in this moment, I'm going to choose to squeeze everything out of this life. That's what I want for my life. That's what I want for your life. That's what I want for everyone's life, is like, there is so much freedom in your choice.
And that's what I love the most about you, is that line right there. That's what you want for your life. That's what you want for everyone else's life. Because there's just, I think the true leaders in this world, they ask themselves how they can help others. Always. How can they make someone else's life better? And I think that's something that you've always done. And you made that choice. And like you said, you never looked back. Never. So what do you say to the girl or the guy who's in a really dark place, who wants desperately to make that choice, but doesn't know how, doesn't know, what the first step is or how to do that? What would you say to that person?
For me, and I can speak to my own experiences. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm an expert on how I choose to live my life. And I'm so happy to share that. So moving your body, honestly, and like I know that you know this, is, and believe this to be true, is
movement is medicine.
Movement is medicine. If you just dance, literally just dance, and it changes your state. When you change your state, you change your life, because you're actually able to like shake things out that no longer serve you. And it changes your whole chemistry. It's like the moment that I decided to ride the bike, the moment that when I went to LA, I hated exercise. I did not like to move my body. My mom was like, Taye, you need to move your body. And I said, no, I hate that. That's not for me. People in fashion, we just like don't eat. No, but like, we just like do the Diet Pepsi thing. And movement was not a part of the culture, actually. And I think it's definitely changed, and it's changing, and that's beautiful. I'm so happy for that. But I found myself clipped into that bike being like, whoa, there's like limitless possibilities when you start to move your body. So my advice to someone that isn't sure or is feeling stuck is just begin to move your body. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk. Maybe it's just dancing in your kitchen with your PJs on. Maybe it's looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself, I am capable. Like having those conversations with yourself are huge. I think that forgiving yourself, giving yourself grace is essential on this journey, because and the ability to choose again. Gabby Bernstein taught me this method, and it's called the choose again method. And it's changed my life. I've been using it now for like 10 years. It's very simple. Basically, when you're in a situation and maybe you're going down a route that you don't like, you have the choice to choose again, to reset. It's all in the way and that's like an inner dialogue that you kind of have with yourself is, I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm going to choose again. I'm going to start over. And, every morning you have that choice. We get another beautiful day when we wake up and we have breath in our lungs and we have a beat in our heart. Like what a blessing that is.
I honestly think it's such a simple statement, but it's a really, really powerful one, that we always have a choice. We can choose to build ourselves up. We can choose to break ourselves down, or we can choose to have a joyful life, or the opposite. And I get that like hard days will happen, right? And we need to also have conversations about that and normalize that, the highs and the lows, and together those make us whole. Those make us who we are. And not everything has to be positive all of the time, but we have the choice to make a change anytime we want to. And on that journey, I always say that, I had this business mentor one time who really put it to me in like the most, I don't know, eloquent way, I guess you could say, or interesting way or unique way, I should say, which is being kind to ourselves when we make those choices or when we make new choices. So it's just simply rerouting, right? That's all it is a reroute. So if you're driving down the road and let's say you're using Waze or Google Maps or whatever it is, right? And you make a wrong turn, what happens? There's a polite voice that comes in and says, it makes that little noise and then it just simply reroutes you. It just simply reroutes you. You're still on your way to your destination, but it simply reroutes you. But what happens when we reroute ourselves or we make a wrong turn? Instead, we're like, oh my God, the GPS doesn't come on and say, you're screwed. You're never going to make it. You're never going to get to your destination. Like, it doesn't say that. This is a very kind, polite voice that comes in and says, like, let's make a right turn and then a left turn, and then we'll figure it out and we'll still be on our way.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So we still end up wherever it is that we're trying to go. But sometimes, we just make different choices, and being kind to ourselves as we reroute is really important, I think.
It's essential. It's part of self-love and self-acceptance and just being human. I think sometimes even in the self-help world and the self-development, personal development world, we can be so hard on ourselves. And I think learning to walk this messy life, messy but yet beautiful, with self-compassion and self-love and self-acceptance of just being human and not always having to always just strive. There's this part of me right now going through this journey is that, we're constantly striving to be our best self, but sometimes our best self is just being and just letting the human experience happen.
Sometimes your best self is Netflix and chilling, and that's okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Let's normalize Netflix and chill and not feel guilty about it.
Yes, exactly.
It's not always the hustle. It's not always the grind. Right. And certainly the hustle and the grind is absolutely important to the journey and to growing and evolving and changing and all of it. But there's a really healthy balance in that. There's a really healthy balance that we can all find, and not being so hard on ourselves is super important. You also mentioned manifesting.
Yeah.
What can you teach people about manifesting, and how do you do it?
I don't know if I'm ready to teach yet, but I think just for myself is I'm part of a book club, and this lady spoke up last week and said, I used to envision my life and I used to receive it. And that hit me to my core. I was like, oh my goodness, I used to do that too. So then ever since then, I've been very, very intentional with envisioning my life and, manifesting things in and bringing them in, because, what you're looking for will start to be attracted to you when you put it out there in the universe. Like when you start saying it or believing it to be true, the universe has a way of bringing it into you. And I always say, what if what you wanted when you decided and you declared it for your life? What if you were like, I want this for my life? And then the universe was like, oh, I'm going to meet you halfway. And then you come together, because there's this thing that people think with the whole manifestation thing is that if you just think it, you'll get it and you'll receive it. No, you also have to do the work. You want it, you receive it, you put it in you, you embody it and you be it. And then it starts to come towards you, but you also have to go towards it. You can't just sit around Netflix and chill and just expect you to live your best life. Also, there's elements of it, right?
We're such kindred spirits. We are such kindred spirits, because I say the same. We really are, because I say the same thing. I'm like, you have to decide what it is that you want, and then you go out and make it happen. But the universe will rise up and meet you halfway.
Yes.
I've been saying that too for years. And I love that you just said that, because it's the truth. It's like the universe will rise up to meet you halfway. Are you willing to take that step? The first step, the second step? Are you willing to continue to put one foot in front of the other and figure the journey out as you go? They also say that, what is it, something crazy, you're 72% more likely to accomplish your goals just by writing them down?
Yes. And like a very small percentage of adults or, people of a certain age group literally write them down. I honestly think it's like 3%. I could be wrong. I think that that's crazy to me because I'm like in it. I'm like, oh, doesn't everyone do this? Literally, it's a very small percentage. It might be 8%. I read that the other day. It's like a shockingly low number percent of people literally write their goals and their dreams down. And then the statistics show that those that write it down actually are those that normally follow through with it and normally reach those goals. And think of the percentage, how small it is. It's crazy. Wild.
It is. Our dreams cannot just be, I know, right? Our dreams cannot just be one dimensional.
Right.
They cannot just only live in our minds. That's a one-dimensional dream. At a certain point, a dream's just going to stay a dream forever. It won't become your reality unless you take the steps to tell as many people about it as you possibly can and to write things down. And, honestly, I was listening to, there's a guy named Tim Grover. And so he was the trainer for Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And so he's trained all of these, right? Yes. And he has a new book out called Winning. Ooh. And so I was listening to an interview with him and, I think it was on the Ed Milet show and I'm such a big fan of his. Same. And he asked him, did you train athletes who were more physically gifted than Kobe and MJ? And he said, yes, unequivocally, yes. And he's like, you trained athletes that were more physically gifted than those two guys? How is that possible? He's like, yeah. The difference is the way that they put in work off the court and on the court, but the way that their work ethic and also how they train their minds, all of those things, it's all encompassing. And so, I mean, I can do the crossover between sport and, mental all the time, but
totally.
It's like training our minds, training our bodies, training all of it. And so manifestation is a real thing. And
it's an element. Yeah.
And just tapping into who we are at our core. Yeah. And so I think in terms of going after our best life, I think authenticity plays a huge role in that. I think self-acceptance plays a huge role in that. And so maybe you can speak to authenticity and speak to self-acceptance and those things.
Absolutely. It's a big theme in my life right now. And I think that so humans want to be loved and accepted. We all want to know if we're enough. So when you're younger, you embody pure love and joy and all these things. And then as you grow up, you are told to do this and be that, wear this to be loved and accepted. So you want to be loved and accepted. So you put yourself in those boxes. You become something that you're actually not. So when I was probably about 17, I looked at myself in the mirror and I really truly believed that that's who I was. And then after digging deep, I realized, oh my goodness, I have conditioned myself to be this person, this Taye Anita persona that isn't who I am. I was told, do this, be married by 19, have 3 children. I don't want any of that from my life after really digging deep and figuring out marry a man, do this, be that. Then you'll be loved and accepted. This is what you're supposed to do to be loved and accepted. What about loving and accepting yourself? What about loving on yourself? What about living for yourself? Because that is your truth. It's not selfish, it's selfless. Because you are showing up in a world to be yourself. To free yourself is also freeing. It's granting permission for other people to be free. Freeing yourself from what the world tells you to be so that you can be who you were meant to be, because that is when you are in your power. And I have been going through a lot of self-discovery lately, and it just blows my mind because I was a year ago, let's say 2 years ago, you could have asked me with full conviction, do you know who you are? I would have said, with absolute certainty, I know who I am. Many things have happened since then where I was like, oh my gosh, that's how conditioned I was. I never even questioned this. I never even questioned whether or not I was being true to myself. I just was my whole message is be true to yourself, be your authentic self, speak your truth. I thought I was speaking my truth. And then I sat with myself. I said, who are you? What do you believe in? not what are you believing to be true about the world and what you should be to be loved and accepted because you want to be enough, because that's the human desire. Am I enough? So I was deeply conditioned to believe, follow this. This is how it goes down. If you follow this, then you will be loved and accepted. And that's the whole goal of life, isn't it? So I really tore down some beliefs about myself and really got honest with myself. And it happened through raw conversation where I allowed myself to just sit and be like, what is this? Like, what is going on?
I think that's true what you have to say about, if I asked you a year ago or 2 years ago, if you were like really knew who you were, you would with conviction say yes, right? I think we never stop learning. We never stop growing. We never stop uncovering pieces and parts of ourselves and meeting ourselves, right? We meet ourselves. Like we get to know ourselves. And that's what this life is all about. That's what this journey is all about, And it's one of the reasons why I love to go out to dinner alone. I like to go take myself on dates. I like to do those things.
Best.
It is because I'm meeting myself. But I think you and me and everyone out there, we will continue to still meet ourselves well into our 80s, 90s. And I hope that I'm still meeting a new version of me for the rest of my life. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I don't think that, we uncover the parts of ourselves that we're supposed to uncover when we're supposed to uncover them.
Wow. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. Because honestly, something happened February 2020, and I wouldn't have been ready for it or ready to dive into it if I didn't do the work up until then. So I was preparing for that moment and doing the hard work and really, and digging so deep. I wasn't ready until February 2020 to have that conversation because, I was preparing myself for that conversation and I didn't even know.
And we're going to get
for
into
the first time.
That conversation is and was, but, I think really that is so, once again, I'm going to say powerful because this conversation has been so powerful so far already. And the piece and the part that I find to be so powerful in that is that we don't have to do self-help work for an end goal. We don't have to say, you know what, everybody told me that, I got to work on me if I want to find a relationship and I should work on me and I should work on me. Or if I want to find a career, I need to work on me. Like, we don't need to work on ourselves so that we can find X or Y or Z. You can just work on yourself and you don't know what you're preparing for or prepping for.
That's so beautiful. That's so true. Never in a million years would I ever, who I am today because of all the work I've done, it's blowing my mind. Like, honestly, Victoria, it's blowing my mind. I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is this? Like, it's so crazy. What if I never did the work? I wouldn't have discovered this beautiful part of who I am and the potential I have to help other people. That's huge. That in itself is whoa. Think of this is such a blessing to be on this journey of self-discovery and on this journey of digging and doing the personal development, because what if I didn't? This is what if you didn't dig deep? And what if you didn't want to know yourself more? I talk to people all the time where they're saying, oh, I don't want to dig into that. I don't want to open that, can of worms or whatever they say. And to each their own, and everyone's on a different journey. And I believe that some people aren't, they're not ready or whatever it is. So that's really beautiful what you just said. I love that. I love that so much.
Once again, thank you so much for being so vulnerable, for opening up. I hope that people I know they must feel inspired by your story and who you are and who you're continuing to become. How can people find you? How can people, reach out to you? I'm sure so many people will be touched by, the words that you had to say today. So where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Taye Anita, TayeAnita. And that's about it. I love you so much. I'm so excited for your podcast. I am cheering you on always.
Thank you. Oh, and I almost forgot one last question. which I want to close every interview out with.
Yes,
what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh gosh. Don't worry about what they say. They're going to say it anyway. It has nothing to do with you.
Amen. And there's the mic drop. You are such a joy, a queen, a star. I love you. And I cannot wait to share this message with the world. So I thank you for being on.
I'm terrified. I love you.
Do it scared, baby. Love you.
Let's go. Mwah. Love you.
I meant what I said when I said that this interview would be a really special one. So thank you again to Taye for sharing her heart. And as I said in the interview, I really hope that her fearlessness to stand in her power, to be open, to be authentic, to be honest with her truth, I hope that it gives someone out there permission to also stand in their own truth and to listen to those quiet voices inside and allow those quiet voices to gain more bravado, to speak loudly. And the more we speak, the more our power just comes into its own. So I want to thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to thank Taye for showing up the way that she did and sharing her heart. And yeah, that's it. So follow Taye, follow at Very Best Self. Let us know what you thought of today's show. Reach out to her, tell her what you thought. Yeah, so that's it. And please share this with someone you love. Always share it with somebody you love. Also, don't forget to rate and subscribe and review and hashtag all of the things. That's how we keep this thing going. So that is it for today. New episode dropping every single Tuesday. Look forward to that, and I will see you soon. As always, thank you. I appreciate you for listening to today's episode, for hitting that subscribe button, and maybe most importantly, for leaving a positive review. If you loved this episode, please pay it forward and share it with someone that you love. That's how we keep this thing going. You can find me on Instagram at Victoria Brown or connect with me and the Very Best Self Squad on our pod page at Very Best Self. Don't forget, no matter where you are on your journey, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. I'll see you next time, squad.